Hi
Hi
guys.
everyone.
Hi everyone and welcome to Brokenness Meets Grace. As you know, I'm Harmony and this is
Karabo.
so we've changed settings today. We're at home
Yeah.
again today and we thought, you know what, let's record it in a different setting just to add some spice.
Yes.
We don't have a guest this week. But we will be introducing a new series to our Brokenness Meets Grace platform. And we're starting our identity series, our series
Yeah.
about identity. And it's such a broad topic and also such an important one
Yeah.
because it's really attached or aligned to our
we are.
brokenness as people, you know, and it's at the root of all of that brokenness is a broken identity.
Yeah.
And it takes on so many different forms. So what we're going to be doing is today, Karabo and I introducing the topic. Over the next couple of weeks, we'll be talking about the different subtopics
Yeah.
to the topic of identity. We're going to be covering a whole lot of topics, some controversial, some difficult to address, but important that we should discuss them, from sexuality to rejection to oh my gosh, what else, like so many
There's
different
so
mental
many.
health and all the sort of
many.
facets of identity that get lost and broken along the way,
Yeah.
and of course the grace that sews it all together.
Yeah.
So we look forward to this new session, this new season, and yeah, let's get straight into it.
For sure.
What is identity? So what do you think is the perfect definition of what identity means?
I think it's such an important question to ask because I think it was a sermon that we watched, one of the first sermons that we watched from the late great Miles Monroe, and he addresses that the most important question in the world that people are looking for the answer to is who are you, who we are,
Yeah.
you know, and that is really the core of identity, you know. We think we know who we are, but we don't, and we keep looking for it in different things, in different ways, you know, in people sometimes, and that is truly the core of why we are here, and we need to kind of address that, you know, and it goes beyond your name, it goes beyond your familial attachments, it goes beyond your, you know, your career choices, your smarts. It is just literally the intrinsic, the most important question that we can answer as people, and that will help align all of those other things that I just mentioned now, you know. So I think it really just speaks to who we are, why we're here, and what our purpose is for life. And once we are able to truly answer that question, I think life has meaning, you know. And for me, it comforts me when I heard that question, really, because it's not a question you can answer, you know. You can't really say this is who you are, this is why I am, or I am here. It literally needs you to step back, introspect, think about it, and honestly answer it, you know. And when I was faced to answer that question, it was a refreshing question in the sense that there's a reason why I'm here, you know. It's not a cosmic explosion, it's not a mistake, it's not a happenstance, it's not the survival for the fittest type thing that the world has made us believe, you know. But if we are asking that question, who are you, it means you're meant to be somebody and you're meant to do something, you know, and that alone should align you to purpose.
Definitely.
You know?
Definitely. For me, it has always been a very interesting question, and I've always struggled to answer it, like you're saying, because it's so easy for a person to say, like, who are you? And the first thing that you think about is, okay, my name is so and so, you know. But it's such an important question, and everybody should be challenged to literally think about it clearly and think about it like deeply. Who am I? You know, who am I at the core? And for me, that's what your identity is. And for the longest time, we assign our identity to how we were raised, right? Because I think as people, as children, our first understanding of who we are is developed from our surroundings and our parents, the people that bring us into the world. And so we end up assigning all of their characteristics, the characteristics that we are raised around, the things that we see.
Or even assimilating.
Yes, to becoming like them, because we identify. We identify ourselves as, you know, that's who we are. You know, our parents teach us that. And then we grow up, and then society starts to define who we are, you know, based on our peers and schools, and, you know, those ideas of what your identity should be are fed to you. And then we grow up into adults who already, because we don't really have a good sense of who we are because we've taken who we are from so many different examples. So we grow into these adults who don't really know who they are, and then are still expected to function in the world. And I think that's the real essence of why the world is so broken, why so many of us are broken. It's because we've gone through life just picking up bits and pieces of other people and what they think identity is or what they think you should be. And then you put it together and you form this false identity, this false perception of who you are. And you live your life that way. And that's why there'll always be a void, because we're always seeking and searching, because at the core of us, there's this missing piece that we just don't quite get, because everything that's been fed to us has been false, you know? So for me, that's what identity is who are you at the core? Like every other thing that we talk about in the show, the answer to all of the questions that we have are only found in one place, and one place only, and that's in the one who created us, you know? Yes, our parents gave us life. Our parents birthed us. Our parents were instrumental in, you know, sort of creating our form in a way, you know? But they certainly didn't create our existence. Our existence comes from something much higher, someone much greater, and that's God. And so it only makes sense that in order for us to understand who we are or what our identity is, we have to get that answer from our creator, the one who created us.
Exactly.
You know, and so it leads us to the next question, you know, so who is God? Because surely in understanding who God is, you know, we're able to understand who we are at the core of our existence and who we are at our being. And it's a difficult question because he is so much, right?
It's massive.
But your understanding of who he is starts to become your understanding of yourself.
Yes.
And the more we delve into sort of trying to getting to know him and experiencing him anew daily, we are getting to know ourselves and who we're actually meant to be daily. So it's an everyday pursuit.
So it's so funny because I was reading a book recently, and I think it was a theologian commentary on a particular verse that I was trying to understand. And they said something that really just stuck to me, that at the end of every pursuit is God. You know? So just to bring it back to the question of who is God. And for me, if you can explain God, if you can, you know, understand him, then I wouldn't want to put my faith or trust in that. You know, I wouldn't want to base existence rather on something that you can explain, something that you can formulate, you know, you can calculate, you can find logic, you can predict. It has to be, he has to be inexplainable. He has to be beyond scope, you know, over and above anything we could ever understand, because a paradox, yes. It's such a paradox that he's inexplainable, but in him being inexplainable is the answer, you know? And this theologian was basically saying that at the end of everything, once we've exhausted all of our research, all of our, you know, formulas, all of it, not even science can give you the answers, because science also just makes you keep asking questions, you know? Everything in life leads you to a question. The more you keep trying to figure it out, there's always a question attached to that, because you can't get to the bottom of it. The only bottom is God. And once you understand that he is at the end of every single question that you will ever answer, there's a level of peace with that, that okay, that makes sense. It can only be God, because he's inexplainable already, you know? And I think that just highlights our existence as a whole, because it doesn't make sense in a lot of ways. You know, he doesn't make sense, but even that is a comfort for me, that something beyond my comprehension holds the whole world together. You know, something beyond my little measly mind, you know, something beyond the world that we see. That is a broken world, that is chaotic, that is filled with flawed people, you know. Something beyond that is holding the whole world together. And that for me is an extension of hope, you know, is an example of hope, that there is something more than even us that is alive, you know, and that more is the reason why we are alive. And for me, that is enough.
Exactly. And I think that's also such a valid point, because we tend to think that we will be okay once everything makes sense. Right? So then we start this pursuit of trying to figure out who we are. And then we understand, okay, then who we are is found in God.
Yeah.
So I need to understand who God is. But we already go into that activity or trying to understand who God is, limiting ourselves if we think we are going to have all the answers.
Exactly.
You know, if we think we're going to start this journey where we want to get to know God, you know, increase our relationship with Him so that we can ultimately understand who we are. But if we start that at the point that says, I know that by the end of this, you already...
Exactly.
Because there is no end, you know, like Shishi said, it's an inexhaustible pursuit. Like, we will be on it until we die, you know. But what's important, especially related to identity, is the fact that it's a pursuit we must start.
Yes.
You know, it's something that it's a journey that we actually have to begin on. And for me, I love what you said about how, you know, we wouldn't want to serve a God who has limitations or a God who you can understand. Because think about it this way. If God there is no limit to knowing Him, and there's no limit to the answers to the questions that we'll always have, and there's no explanation to everything, that basically means the same for us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It basically means it doesn't matter how much of ourselves we discover through our journey with God. We will just keep discovering more and more and more about who we are. You know, we should never get to a point where we can stop and say, this is me and this is where I am. Because that's where you sort of limit who God is through you and what He can do through you, you know. But at the core is identifying who you are in Him. Not necessarily having all the answers, not necessarily knowing how you're going to get to that point, but I think the basis. And as we talk about this topic, the different topics that are related to identity over the next couple of weeks, we're going to make them sound so basic. You know, something as basic as our identity as women. You know, who does God say a woman is? What kind of woman should I be in accordance to God? You know, because if I identify myself as a child of God, then in my role, in my gender as a woman, what does that mean? You know, my identity as a mother, you know, what kind of role am I supposed to be fulfilling as a mother according to God? And all of those little pieces, you know, that make up a person, because you're not just one-dimensional, right? We're not just gender. We are roles, we are, we have jobs, we have pursuits, we have dreams, we have relationships, we have interactions. So all of those facets come together and they form who we are as people. And what's so beautiful is that God has the answer for each and every part of who we are.
Because honestly, like Shishi said, it's so simple but yet complex at the same time. He came up with those terms. You understand?
Exactly.
By virtue of existence of the world of creation being, He already made allowance for each and every one of those roles, for each and every one of those relationships, you know, for each and every one of those pursuits. He already made that to be a possibility. So of course it would make sense that He would be the best person to define it, you know. And I think we live our life in this self-pursuit, thinking we are self-made, you know, we are self-titled, forgetting
we define ourselves. We define who we want to be,
you know, who society is, forgetting that we didn't make the world, we didn't make ourselves. And there was something Francis Chan once said in a sermon that I watched. And he's like, we are so angry with God, or rather we are so anti the principles and the guidelines that God has set out for us to function effectively in this world, because we think He is, you know, a tyrant. You know, we think He's withholding good from us. But he raised a valid point. Okay, if you don't like this world, if you don't like the rules that are bound to this world, then create your own.
Create your own.
You know, go out and create your own world. If you think you can do it better than God, then go for it.
Yeah.
But you can't. We can't, because we are limited in our ability and our capability to exist, let alone to create worlds.
It may be broken, but it's in the hands of the potter. Bye, guys. Catch you next time.